What's going on, YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got another top 10 video for you guys. I've noticed that people really seem to like those top 5 and top 10 videos that I do, especially when I do them on the weekend, so that's what I'm going to do. And if I have legitimate opportunities to do top 5s and top 10s without forcing it, then I'll keep doing them. So today we're going to talk about my top 10 legitimate beater knives, or the knives that I use without any worry, without any second thought. These knives get grabbed and used for literally anything. No reservations. The knife that's sitting in front of you is the new Hogue Ritter RSK MK1 G2. And while I would love to say that it is on this list, it is not. It is simply a placeholder before we get into the meat and potatoes of this video. I've got 3 different classifications for my knives. I have knives that I legitimately enjoy carrying, but get babied. As of right now, given that this one's brand new, I just did the review on this one. If you haven't checked that out, please check that out. By the way, if you're new to my channel, what I do is laid back knife reviews. I do expensive knives, inexpensive knives. I do USA made knives. I do foreign knives. Knives anywhere from $5 all the way up to about $2,500. So if that's your cup of tea, check out my channel. There's lots of stuff on there. Anyways, knives that I would classify as my, these are babied. These get carried and I will cut open, maybe packages, maybe letters, things like that. But these don't, there's reservations with these. Somebody asked to borrow my pocket knife, probably not going to hand them one of these. You guys who've been subscribed to my channel, you know that I carry a backup knife in my back right-hand pocket. And that's to hand to people who I think might be using my pocket knife to cut open a can of tuna or something. So these knives are carried but not used. Now, beyond that, I have, and I think all of us have knives that we don't carry or use at all. These are, a lot of people will call these grail knives, or just any knife that they think is just, too nice to carry or use, and maybe you just want to keep that perfect. Some people are going to scoff at that. I'm sure there are people out there who actually do carry knives like the Steelcraft Beg 3/4 Quake and the Hinder XM18. I myself actually have had user XM18s, but if I'm being perfectly honest, even those user XM18s, I've had reservations on exactly what I will and will not use them for, which does not make it, in my book, a true beater. Now, the beater category is definitely different for every single person, and no matter how much I reiterate that when I do these top 10 lists, even on my top 10 knives for the Apocalypse video where I said, hey, don't take me seriously at all, this is kind of a joke, people still were pointing out like that actually wouldn't be good in an apocalypse scenario. Guys, please listen. This is different for every single person. Some of you actually carry $1,000 beaters, and some of you will never pay more than $5 or $10 for a pocket knife in general. So this is my list. Me personally, it's what I choose to actually use and not care about. But when I thought about it, I thought, you know what? In that way, these knives should be honored, because they are legitimately knives that I will use no matter what the duty is. I'll use it and not even think about it. So these are the knives that are laying around my house in junk drawers. They're laying in, the console of my vehicle. They're laying in tool bags, and they are ready to be used at a moment's notice. First up, Rob. I don't even know if you watch my channel, buddy, but my friend Rob, who carries the ZT-0562, actually multiple. If you look back on my channel, he's got the one that from USA Made Blade with the custom engraving and anodizing on it. Rob got me this pocket knife in Estes Park, Colorado, and it's a very, very inexpensive Swiss Army knife style pocket knife that's got, your bottle openers and your tool. I can't flip it over because it's got my name engraved on it, and I'm not ready to get that close with my viewers, but it's got the blade and the leather punch and, everything that the classic Swiss Army knife has. And I love this because, he bought it and he said, hey, use it. You know, don't worry about it. Just use it and for anything you want. And I do. It lays in my kitchen right on top of my refrigerator, and we use it all the time. And you guys, I'm sure, have already noticed the corkscrew, which barely survived the battle with a particularly angry wine bottle, has been bent out almost completely there. It still functions barely, but this thing has seen many battles around the house, so it absolutely makes my list as number one. A lot of times I'll say number one, and then as we get past 5, I'll probably start counting backwards. So these are not completely in order, but the ones at the end are obviously going to be more dramatic than the ones at the beginning. So the second knife on my list is one that I just reviewed for the second time here recently, and a lot of people are going to say, that's not fair, that one's brand new. Believe me, this thing is going to be put through the ringer. This is the Smith & Wesson Extreme Ops First Response Black Tanto, which a lot of you, I'm sure, carry this knife. You can check out my review on it. I do not like this knife at all. This knife is extremely cheap. It does not have good action or anything like that. I absolutely plan on beating the crap out of it, and when it breaks, not if it breaks, when it breaks, because I will definitely use this thing hard for all sorts of stuff all around my house because I don't care about what happens to it. I will throw it away. But in the meantime, I got to be honest, I have to honor it on this top 10 list because it's going to get used. And so in that sense, I appreciate it. I imagine it will go dull pretty quick, like most of the things on this list, but hey, you know, for 20 bucks, I'm not super concerned with it. Next on the list, it's one of my favorite knives, one of my favorite cheap knives. This is the Ozark Trail green knife, I believe it's what it's called. This was, you know, it's one of those knives that you find at Walmart for like between $1 and $5. And some of those knives are, you know, none of them are made with premium materials. But so really all I'm looking for in that price range is a decent design. Something that deploys readily and that I can hang on to and is basically just going to survive the brutality that I'm going to throw at it. And this is definitely one of those knives. This knife sits in a junk drawer and is ready to open packages. It's ready to cut open, you know, containers of food before we cook or whatever. It gets used for a whole bunch of stuff, and I love it. I love the simple blade shape. I love the handle. It's small. It deploys super easily, and it locks up all right. You know, I think I paid $4 for this, and I love it. I love it for that reason. No reservations using that one. Next knife on the list is also an Ozark Trail knife. I think this one's literally just called the Black Flipper knife. I did a video on this knife, and I was so impressed that a knife for $4 could flip. This is not an assisted knife. I'll let you see that detent again. That detent makes this knife flip readily. And you know, when I talked about this knife, I said, how do we still have companies out there who can't figure out their flipper tabs and their detents and make knives flip? Ozark Trail, they've got some other flipper knives that don't work that well, but this one is tuned to be a flipper. It actually flips really well, and this thing is still centered, and it still locks up fairly early. No side to side or up and down blade play, not yet. I'm sure it will develop it, but yeah, this is absolutely a beater. I love that it flips, but at $4 or $5, it's basically a disposable knife. If it breaks or I lose it, oh well, who cares? It's going to get used, and it's going to get used for all sorts of crazy stuff. So, all right, let's move on to the next knife. So the next knife on my list is one that my subscribers and viewers will be familiar with. This is the knife I was referring to that I keep in my back right-hand side pocket that was it was actually recently replaced by a Great Eastern cutlery knife. This is the Swiss Army or Victorinox Cadet. I love this knife. This knife has seen a ton of use and abuse. It is the knife that I hand to people when they ask me for a knife to cut open whatever. I don't care. I've had to resharpen it multiple times because people legitimately have cut stupid things with it. They've tried to cut wires and all sorts. You know, people do that, and that's not necessarily their fault if they're not a knife person. But that's why I carry a second knife. That's why I carried this as my second knife. Not only that, but it's got all these other tools on it. And while I don't really use the file or the can opener, what I do definitely use is the flathead slash pry bar slash bottle opener. A lot of people say that's not a pry bar. To me it is, because I will use this knife for anything. I don't care. It survived everything I threw at it, carrying it pretty much every day for like 3 or 4 years. And actually, you know, before, I haven't had it that long. I had another one before this. I can't remember how long I've had this one. Maybe a year, year and a half, 2 years, something like that. But this is a knife that I will absolutely grab and use for anything. I think they're $25, $30, which is getting up there in price. Some people are not going to agree with me that that's a price range that they're really comfortable putting a beater into. But this one is absolutely a beater, and I'm not afraid to use it. Next knife up on the list, you guys have seen this on my channel, definitely, and it has recently been placed into the category of beater. This is the Bird Meadowlark. Essentially, this is Spyderco's budget version of their Delica. I think this knife is made out of HCR 13 MOV. It's got plastic handles and a steel liner and liner lock. I like this knife mainly for its ergonomics. It's got a forward choil. It's got the jimping up there. Considering what it costs, which actually, I think this one cost me less than $10 because of all the extra points that I had with DLT trading. So to me, this is like I can't remember on the video. I can't remember if this is the one I only paid like $6.50 for, but in any case, this is basically a disposable knife for me. It's a great knife. It's one that I absolutely recommend to people. If you look at my playlist where I show all my favorite everyday carry knives, or my knives that I would absolutely recommend to people for everyday carry, this is actually on that list. But it's also a beater to me because it doesn't, I don't really have any sort of connection with it. Definitely not with not the same connection that I have with like my Shaman. You guys know how much I love that knife, but I've got reservations on what I will or won't use the Shaman for. So the Bird Meadowlark, definitely, it'll get used for anything. When I say that, I know I'm being vague. Like, if I need a knife to be a screwdriver, which, believe me, I know that knives are not supposed to be screwdrivers. But if I have a screwdriver type task and the only thing I have on me is one of these beater knives, you bet they're getting used for that. Absolutely, because I don't really care about what happens to them. Again, I love these knives, but it's a different kind of love. I love that I can use them and not care about what happens to them. Next knife up on the list, one that I think will kind of surprise you guys. This is the Gerber Flatiron. I hate this knife because of what it cost me, which was, I can't remember, it was like 30, 35 bucks, and how awful the fit and finish was. It's got lock problems. The frame looks terrible. There's, shrapnel and stuff hanging out up here. The blade wasn't sharp. So this knife instantly became a beater knife. I was considering doing a giveaway for this knife, but in the condition that it came to me brand new, no, I was not going to give that. I don't want to give this knife to any of my viewers. If I'm going to do a giveaway, I want to give away knives that I think are good. I do not think this knife is good. Therefore, it's going to work at my house, absolutely. In fact, it was actually just used on a project in my garage just last weekend. We hung some shelves, hung some pegboard, did a whole bunch of stuff out there, and this thing got thrown around and it cut open a few things. Don't get me wrong, the blade is still sharp enough to cut through cardboard and get through zip ties, but you just got to wrench on it a little bit because it's not a whole lot sharper than a spoon. But it has become a multi-purpose tool to me, and it's not going to be the most convenient tool in the world because I don't know how utilitarian that blade shape is, but if I need something that folds and is relatively sharp, or maybe I need something to be a hammer because I can't reach the hammer or whatever, I know that, man, I can almost feel people getting upset with me saying stuff like that, but legitimately, these are the knives laying around my house that I will use for anything. I can't stress that enough. This is a knife that I'll reach for. So, anyways, moving on. We've got 3 knives left. Let me make sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, that was 7. We got 3 knives left. Next up, this knife is not going to come as any surprise to most of you. In fact, this is a knife that is loved by a lot of people and is generally placed in beater category, but with more of a sense of, that's a really good beater. This is the Ontario Rat Model 1 in D2 steel. I have used this knife for so many things, and I have come to truly respect this knife. This knife will get used for just as many completely unnecessary or non-knife tasks as any of the other knives that I have shown, but I have a real care for this. You know, it's like this knife is my buddy. It went to work last summer in my backyard, did a whole bunch of stuff. It was used to dig. It's been resharpened multiple times. The blade here, if I can focus, actually doesn't look too bad, but it is absolutely scratched up. The edge you can see there's definitely been used, and that's after being resharpened multiple times. But here's why I love this thing. It's stayed reasonably centered. There is no blade play up, down, left, or right. I've had to adjust the pivot a few times, but it still deploys readily. That blade is so friendly. It is so easy to, even with the blade the way that it is right now, which is kind of dull. I just cut open a bag of dog food last night, and just the geometry of the blade allowed it to pass through that material with hardly any resistance, despite it being kind of dull. So I love this knife. I will use it for anything, but I truly love it. So absolutely it makes the list. Next up, I'm kind of cheating here, and this next thing, I cheated with it before actually on my Apocalypse video. This is my Leatherman Surge, and it's, you know, it's pretty expensive. This is a $100 item. You can see there the only thing that barely makes it passable for this list is the fact that it has a blade on it. This knife, or this multi-tool was 100% purchased to be a dedicated around-the-house multi-tool. For when I don't want to heave my tool bag out with me to do something simple, this tool will be brought with me to do that job. It absolutely has been used for some minor things here and there, but this thing is darn near indestructible, and I love it. I love that, you know, nothing is really, there's nothing on this that I really feel like is so special that I can't, you know, that I would hold back from using it. That blade, I'm definitely going to use that blade for all sorts of ridiculous stuff, but for tasks that are not specifically made for a knife, the nice thing about this thing is it's got tools on it that I can use for stuff like that. You know, minor prying, sawing, if I need a screwdriver, or if I need pliers or wire cutters, it's all right there. So yeah, it absolutely makes this list. There's no reason to baby a Leatherman multi-tool, or any multi-tool for that matter. They have the word tool in the name. So absolutely, this multi-tool makes my list, even though it's not a, you know, a dedicated knife per se. So on to the number one on my list. Okay, so for the number one beater, some of you guys are gonna roll your eyes. Some of you guys might swell with pride. Some of you guys might be like, ah, yes, you know, I totally feel you. And a lot of you are just gonna be like, ah, you know, that was anticlimactic, because you watch my channel all the time. So you know my number one carry knife. This one's not laying around my house. This is a carry knife. This is a knife that I EDC that actually will get used for just about anything. It's a knife that has become 100% a tool in my eyes, but a lot like the Rat 1, it's a tool that I love. I love that it is designed so perfectly in terms of deployment, ergonomics. I can almost hear some of you going, oh, I know what it is. But it's just, you know, the materials that are on it, everything is so perfectly suited for EDC tasks and just tasks in general. This knife has been used for knife stuff. It's been used for non-knife stuff. It will continue to be used for stuff like that until it breaks, which the way that I use it, at some point it will. Number one on my list is the Spyderco Man X2. This thing has absolutely been put to the grindstone in terms of what I use it for. I use it in my backyard. I use it every day at work. I use it around my house. And while the tip is definitely not set up to take the abuse that I throw at it, it's handled everything so far, you know, and I fully expect to break a chunk off of it at some point, or lose a screw, or have that little actuator switch for the ball bearing lock, have something go wrong with it. I don't know, but this knife has crossed over into the tool category for me, and it is absolutely my favorite tool that I own. You know, and I know a lot of you are like, you said your #1 favorite EDC was the Hinder XM18. It is, but even my user XM18s, I have reservations on what I will and won't use them for. The Man X2 gets used. I've cut into boxes and hit staples and felt nothing. You know, a lot of times that knife that you just got and you're still kind of in the honeymoon phase with it, and you go to open a box with it because you tell yourself it's going to be a user, it's going to be a user, and then you run it into a staple and a small part of your soul dies. You know, I don't have that feeling with this Man X2. I've got another Man X2, the red one, that I don't use, and I would die a little inside if I put a nick in that one. But this black one here, it's not special. You can go buy this knife right now for 130 bucks. G10, tungsten-based black DLC and S30V. I love how the switch works. I love that I can whip it into place. I love that I can do the Spidey flick, even though, you know, I'm not doing that whip very well on camera today. Look at that, I can't do it as much as I talk. Anyways, I love that I can do the reverse flick on it. There we go. I love that it has the forward thumb flick. I absolutely love the forward choil on this knife. I love the handle ergonomics, which are about the same as the Hinder XM18. It slides in and out of the pocket easily. Love the pocket clip, love the shape. The blade is one of the sliciest blades I've ever used, you know, cutting into cardboard, cutting through zip ties, cutting through rope, rubber, even some food prep, you know, all of that stuff. I mean, this thing is just, it's ready to be a beater. And you can see on the blade, actually, I don't know what that blue stuff is. I've actually tried to get, come on now, there's only one thing on camera, and my camera can't focus on it. That blue line, I have no idea what that is. I've tried to get that off with oil. I have no idea what I cut with that. You can see there's something is happening to the DLC coating where it's like lighter in one spot, but it's not really coming off. You know, I'm really surprised. This blade's been kind of stabbed into the ground before, and I cleaned it up before this video, but I wanted to show you guys, you know, kind of what it's been through. The pocket clip's holding up well. The G10 looks great. It's got a few scratches here or there. Still no blade play. Blade kind of has moved over a little bit to the left-hand side, but man, you know, it never quite became a free faller, but it works, and it's a tool now, and I just love this knife. So I hope you guys found this video interesting or entertaining or just anything. I hope it gave you some kind of joy. Maybe one of the knives that you love was on my list and you feel the same way about it. Maybe you've got a totally different list of your favorite beaters that are laying around the house. Either way, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section and let me know. In any case, leave a like if you enjoyed this video. And if you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like. So check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, then please subscribe to my channel because there is definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching and have a great day.